Okay, here Kath and I are for our 2019 post-PCT Washington State hike review. And we want to just talk about some of the things that we felt were pertinent that you might be interested in hearing about as far as gear and whatever else that we did on the trail this year, clothing, that kind of stuff. So, Kath, why don't you go ahead and get started?
Okay, so I'm just going to talk about a few of the things that I changed or some of the new things that I took along with me this time. First thing is talking about the REI Flash sleep pad system, and I also used a half of a Thermarest Z-Lite pad, and I put this underneath the REI Flash, which is an inflatable pad. And I put it under from about the shoulders down to below the hips, and it just gave me a little bit of extra cush, and also gave me a little extra warmth there. So
yeah, and I give an A+ to the REI pad. It's an inflatable pad, 78 inches is what I got. Comfortable to sleep on, and it rolls up in this small little bundle here, which took up less space in my pack, which I needed this year for all the food that we had to carry. So good product.
absolutely. This year we used the groundhog stakes for most of the time. Sometimes we also used some of the little shepherd hook stakes if the campsite had a lot of tree roots and things, but most of the time we used the groundhogs.
Yeah, the soil up there is much more pliable and forgiving than the soil up in the Sierra Nevadas when we hiked the John Muir Trail up there. So these things really were the best option if you can get them into the ground, because it makes a much better grip and contact with the ground. It holds your tent in place. But when we were in those situations, there was a couple of places that we stayed where the tree roots or maybe some small rocks in there. We used the shepherd hooks.
And they held fine.
Right. And I would recommend that you take a combination of both these and the titanium shepherd hook stakes with you when you go camping in Washington.
We used the Z-Packs bear bags this year. We had 2 of them. I think you've got them over there, yeah. And really liked them. We bought the kits so that you also got the cording and the little bag that the rocks go in to throw over the cording over the tree limb. And in addition to that, then in each one of those we had some odor-proof bags. We had the smelly-proof bag, and we also had the brand called OP. The thing I liked about the smelly bag ones is that the little closing thing on the top, the zip closure, worked time after time, whereas with the OP brand, by the time you'd zipped it shut on the second day, it just didn't want to zip shut anymore. So my preference is the smelly proof bags. They're also a little bit less expensive, and they have a nice bottom on them that it expands, so you can actually get a little bit more in there. So that was my preference there.
Yes, and I would just say that if you want more information on bear bags and how to hang a bear bag, there's plenty of YouTube videos that will show you exactly how to do that.
Right. This year we took along a little scrubby for our pot. Last year we just used a washcloth, a wash rag. This year it was a little scrubby about that big. I cut one of the pads in half that you use to clean your surface of your stove top, the glass stove top. And so it didn't scratch, it doesn't scratch the surface. But it cleans all the stuff that might be stuck on the
sticky stuff.
Noodle,
yes.
That kind of stuff.
Yes.
Sam appreciated that because he's the one that always does the dishes.
Yes.
Such a nice guy.
I am.
This year I took along 3 of the 3/4 liter smart bottles, and last year I took only 2. So it was an extra bottle, but I appreciated having it.
I took 3 also this year, in addition to our other water bags with Canon.
Right.
We'll talk about in a minute.
We used the Be Free water filter system this year. We had a 3-liter bag and we had a 1-liter bag. We prefer the 3-liter, and it just works really fast, filters the water really quick, and it never clogged, never had a problem.
Right, and you can see there's the filter part of it. It's actually got a little drinking spout on the end of it. You go down to your creek or your stream or water source, scoop the water into the bag, put the filter into the top of it and screw it on, and then you're immediately ready to start filtering. Filters very quickly, which means you can turn the bag essentially upside down and drink right out of the bag once you've got the water in it. And the reason we're thinking about taking 2 of these next year is because, first of all, they roll up very nice.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're at a campsite where you need water, we use quite a bit of water when we are at a campsite for not only cooking dinner but making coffee and breakfast in the morning. So, and then refilling our water bottles that we drink out of during the day. So a couple of these works better for us, and depending on how many people you have in your party, you may only need 1 of these.
Mm-hmm.
You might need 3 if you've got a fairly good sized party, but very good product. Highly recommend that you try one of these out if you've never tried one before.
I wore long pants every day, and I was really glad I took 2 pair of long pants, and it was great because there were so many mosquitoes, number one, and the second thing is in Washington the trail is so overgrown in so many places that the brush actually covers over the trail, and so when you're walking along your legs get scraped up. So I was really happy I had the long pants.
Yeah, me too. I had the Cools, that's spelled K-U-H-L, long pants, and like Cass said, they're great for protecting you when you're going through those portions of the trail early on that we went through where it was essentially completely overgrown by ferns or huckleberry bushes or whatever it was. And it was nice to have a long pair of pants on so you're not getting scraped up.
And all of those bushes were wet because it had either rained or it was so humid, and we were in the clouds a lot with that little misty stuff in the clouds, and so it was pretty wet too.
Yep,
I also wore a long sleeve Columbia sun shirt. One of the ones that buttons up the front, and that helped a lot to keep the mosquitoes off.
Yeah, same for me. I have a long sleeve Columbia. In fact, if you watch our video, you'll see Kath and I actually had the same color
We
shirts
matched.
on. Yeah, we matched. So people were accusing us of being cruise ship
Tour
staff.
guides.
Exactly. And a couple of the buses or trains we were on. So,
That's right.
Pretty funny.
And one guy told us we looked a little bit old-fashioned, but that was okay.
yeah, it was okay for us.
That's right, because we're old.
We are old.
Yeah. I took fleece gloves this year. Last year I had waterproof gloves, but this year I took the fleece because I knew it's going to be a little cooler. And I was really glad I did because they protected my hands from the cool and the wet, but also from the mosquitoes. I wore them every day.
So Kath had her gloves. This is the gloves that I took this year. I didn't have any last year when we hiked the JMT, and I had some issues with the skin splitting on my fingertips, plus my cuticles getting scraped raw when I was sliding them in and out of the pack, just doing basic camp duties around there. These are finger 10. These are actually golf rain gloves, and the material that they're made out of, it's a lightweight material, and it allows the water to essentially evaporate a lot quicker when your gloves get wet. They're designed to do that to help you grip the club when you're playing golf in the rain, but these are ideal for hiking as well. And if you have any hand issues, I would recommend that you get a pair of these. They're relatively cheap. You can pick them up on Amazon.
I also had an acrylic knit hat this year. Last year I had a fleece hat, so I liked the acrylic knit a little bit better. And I had a pair of shorts, very light weight shorts, nylon I think, maybe a little polyester in there, and I wore those at night to sleep in.
And this was the only addition that I made this year to my sleeping gear, and that was I brought a lightweight Patagonia hoodie, so 3/4 zip
Quarter zip.
or quarter zip, and this allowed me to take off my sweaty, stinky shirts at night and sleep in this, and I was very, very comfortable every night we were on the trail in that.
We also both got new headlamps. We bought the Night Core headlamps. They're rechargeable, and they're great because they have lots of different settings, as well as red light and a white light. So really like those. They also have a really good locking system so that it doesn't come on inadvertently in your pack.
Right. Yeah, I would second Kath's evaluation. Those were great. Oh, and the other thing is you can recharge these. You can actually plug them in to a battery brick. I'll talk about this in a minute, but you can recharge these by plugging them in. They've got a USB connection that you can plug into the end of the battery brick here and recharge these things when they need to be recharged.
And they have a gauge on there so you know how much charge you have. So you can check it before you run out. You don't have to just all of a sudden be in the dark, which is good. I ditched my Injinji toe sock liners this year. They were starting to rub a little bit on the outside of my big toes. So I ditched those and just wore my Darn Toughs, and I did great.
And I essentially did the same thing. I was the second day out, I was starting to get some hot spots there on my right foot, and I just, once I took the Injinji sock liners out and just wore the Darn Toughs, those issues basically went away for me. So I did the same thing.
I basically wore my rain jacket almost every day because it was misty and damp and windy and chilly and all that. But also to help keep the mosquitoes off. So.
And we both have the Marmot brand rain gear, so you can look that up online. They've got the zip pits on them to where you can open those up a little bit, because it was very humid up there, obviously, with all the moisture in the air, and you need to have a little ventilation when you're hiking along there.
Basically, the tread of the trail was really great. It was soft. It was fairly level in most places, and of course the one place it wasn't is where I ended up taking a face plant and breaking a bone in my hand. But it was really quite nice, and because of that we were able to cover more mileage each day. So we've already planned for next year that we'll be covering more mileage. We know that the trail isn't that way all the way through Washington, but it's certainly not as rough and for the bulk of it as the John Muir was. Right. So we feel like we can
the trail surface itself was like walking, 99% of it was like walking on like 3 inches of astroturf. It was smooth, it was level.
Well, level, soft. But not, I mean, we had elevation, but
what I meant to say was it was flat.
Yeah, there you go.
There was elevation, obviously, yes, but it was flat. It was not uneven like it was in the
Glen Pass.
On the John Muir Trail. There's basically, whether you're walking in a valley or you're climbing up a pass in John Muir Trail, you've got step ups and step downs, and it's completely uneven. There's rocks everywhere. So this is a completely different environment that we were in this year.
And beautiful, absolutely lovely. We loved every minute of it, and look forward to going back next year.
We do.
Do you have something else you want
to do? I do have a couple of things. Kath didn't mention we did wear these bug nets.
Yes,
I don't know whether I don't know how much we paid for these things. Could have been more than $10, but we wore these things at least
almost
3 or 4
every day.
days. No, not every single day, but we did wear it for, I'd say, about 3 or 4 of the days we were out there, basically all day long until we got to camp and we were able to get into our tent. But well worth the investment for $10 or less. This is a Sea to Summit head net. It fits in that little bag. If you've got a carabiner, you can hook it up to the shoulder strap on your pack, and you can have it available to put on whenever you need it there once the bugs start getting bad. And the only other items that I have are my camera equipment and my battery. I bought these RAV4. These are 32,000 milliamp hour battery bricks. The nice thing about these things is that, like I was showing you earlier, they've got 3 USB connections in them, so you can charge 3 different devices at once. And you can do your cell phone or camera batteries or whatever it is that you're charging up, but you can do a cell phone. You can do about 12 cell phone recharges, complete recharges with this. before you run it completely down. So we used this and then the two cameras that I took along this year. The first one is the GoPro, and I was really happy with this because I'd had a Garmin Verb out for the last 2 years there when we were hiking the JMT, and I had issues with corrupted files when I would get the video back and try to start editing it for our videos. I did not have a single issue with my GoPro cameras this year. So this is a great system. Sound quality is decent in it. And the pictures, as you'll see in our video, if you go to our channel, Wild Washington, and see our video for this year's hike, you'll see how good the quality of the video is. And in addition to that, I wanted to be able to get a still camera with a zoom on it. So I bought this Canon. It's an SX740HS, whatever that means, but it's got a 40 power zoom on it, optical zoom. And I took several pictures with this, but you can do the macro pictures with it. And all of the pictures that I took turned out just great. I'm very happy with this. Both the GoPro and the Canon have got batteries, and you can recharge those. We got a couple of battery chargers, and we recharge those with that battery brick that I was showing you there. So very, very happy with everything, the way everything turned out. As far as my cameras this year, I want to do exactly the same setup next year for the items that I've talked about. I'm happy with all of those items. And that's pretty much it for us, unless you have anything else, Gail. So there is one more thing that we wanted to mention. We received quite a bit of trail magic on the trail this year, which you'll see if you go to our video, right, honey? Wild Washington on our channel. And you can hear all about the trail magic we got there at Trout Lake, and Wind River Road was another place, and then all of the help that Kath and I got when we got to Trout Lake, the town of Trout Lake, where she got help for her broken appendage there. But we wanted to tell you about a couple of other things that happened in relation to the trail magic, and I'm going to turn it over to Kath here and let her talk to you.
Because we had sent resupply buckets out before we left, obviously those buckets were in places where we expected to be, and then I ended up breaking my hand and we ended up getting off trail. So not only were we the recipient of wonderful trail magic, as Sam said, we were also able to share and to be trail angels ourselves, even though we weren't present to do it. We had other people who assisted us to be able to be trail angels. For example, at Urick Cabin, we were going to have a resupply there. Jeff and Valerie often come up to the Urick Cabin there in Government Meadows and put in drinks and things for hikers and goodies and so on. So they were going to bring us one of our buckets up there to Urick Cabin. So we just contacted them and said, hey, we are not going to be able to be there. Would you mind please taking that bucket to Urick Cabin and sharing it with the hikers that are there? And so they said, oh, sure, they'd be glad to. So afterwards, we got a really sweet note from Valerie, a little email, and she said that she opened the bucket and that there were 11 hikers there when she went, and when they saw what was in the bucket, they died and went to hiker heaven. So she just said that the hikers were kind of speculating about us because obviously they didn't know who we were, and they were asking Valerie questions. Well, Valerie and Jeff, we've never met them either, so we've just communicated kind of online and that way. So anyway, she said, please know that you brightened many lives today, and it just made us feel really good that we were able to share what was intentionally for us, you know, with somebody else, and for them to enjoy it and feel good about receiving it. So that was fun. Another bucket, we actually went to pick up a bucket at White Pass and at Snoqualmie Pass.
Yes.
And so when we picked up the bucket at Snoqualmie Pass, we walked over to the little store that's right there, and there were some hikers there. And we opened the bucket, and they just had a blast going through it. And it was just so much fun watching them enjoy themselves, picking through what we had packed for ourselves, not knowing that somebody else was going to be having the opportunity to go through that. So that was fun. Another bucket went to Stehekin, and so that was put out for hikers. We don't know about how that went over because we weren't there, and we didn't hear back from the people who did it for us. The other thing that happened that we really enjoyed was that we had already paid for 2 nights at White Pass at the White Pass Inn, White Pass Village Inn. And of course, paid in advance, you don't get any kind of a refund for something like that. Right. So we talked to the lady that runs the inn, and she was able to pass those 2 nights on to some other hikers. And she texted us back and told us about the hikers that had the opportunity to use those rooms. And it just made us feel really good that we had the chance to pay back a little bit of the great trail magic that we had received.
Yes. And on a slightly different vein, I'm going to talk about another piece of trail magic that we got when we went to pick up my truck at Stevens Pass. Once we were done with our hike and we had left Trout Lake, we had to come back to Stevens Pass, pick up the truck for the drive home. And when I got back, the truck had been there for a little over 2 weeks, and since we left. But there was a note that was stuck in my windshield, and I'm gonna read it to you. There's no names, just so you can hear what was on the note, and have it be a precautionary tale to you. If you're out there on the trail, make sure when you start leaving notes on automobiles or any other place for that matter, that you're pretty sure that you know who it is that you've left the note for. But here's the note, and this is dated 6/30 of this year. It says, "Super random, but we ran into you at MIG Lake earlier this morning. You were the one who showed us your hunting GPS app. If you are single and ever need a hiking partner, let me know. Have a great Sunday." Obviously, I don't know who this is, but I think they made an error.
It made me worry a little bit.
But I think they might have made a slight error and put this note on the wrong truck. So just be aware if you're out there and you're looking for hiking partners, that you do verify that you're putting your notes out there to the right people that you want to be in contact with. And as far as Kath and I are concerned, what happens on the trail stays on the trail. So it will never go any further than our YouTube channel.
Done.
So hope this has been helpful for you if you're planning on doing some hiking in the Washington PCT. And make sure you check out our other videos on our other channel. If you got any comments or questions, you can leave them in the comment box below. And we really appreciate you watching our channel. And we just say happy hiking.
That's right.